Do you have any idea what the rarest passive mob in Minecraft is? Is it this guy?
Nope.
And how about this one? Not yet. Well, then it's gotta be this little guy, right? Not even close. The mob I'm thinking of is more than 25 times more rare than the blue axolotl. And my name is Pineapple Man, but you can call me Penny, and thank you for joining me in episode 6 of our survival series. Today I'll be teaching you about one of the rarest mobs in the game, and why I think you should care about it. So I'll quit stalling because I think it's pretty obvious that I'm talking about the tropical fish. And I think you should care about these little goobers because I feel like most players don't fully understand or appreciate the mechanic that makes some of these fish so rare. I'll touch on the details more in a minute, but I've determined that the odds of finding a specific color and pattern on a tropical fish is 1 in 30,720 tropical fish spawns. And let's take a moment to discuss what makes tropical fish rare in the first place. And RIP to those 2 yellow tang, but I wanted to show off common fish types, and an easy way to do that is just to show you 2 identical specimens. I'm sure you've been in this situation before, where you've seen a fish that looks kind of off. So you pick them up with a bucket, and check the name in the inventory, and you notice there's some colors associated with it. What is that about? Well, these are the rare fish. When a tropical fish spawn is attempted, there's a 10% chance that the game will randomly select one of 12 fish types and randomize the colors. This is how we get super rare fish specimens. And you'll know it's a rare spawn because when you look in the inventory, it shows the colors. The 22 common fish types will not show you the colors in the inventory screen. And at this point, I thought it was best to jump over to creative so I could kind of show off some of these mechanics in real quick detail. The tropical fish is probably the coolest mob in the game. So if you're unaware, tropical fish spawn in lukewarm and warm oceans, but did you know that they also spawn in lush caves and in mangrove swamp biomes? These are the best biomes to build tropical fish farms in because tropical fish are the only type of fish that can spawn in this biome. And this is honestly where the fun part comes in for me. You'll notice on the right that we have a cringe clownfish that is honestly kinda lame. But on the left, we've got the little fella called a cob, and he looking kinda fresh. This is something that I like to call color morphing, and I've discussed this in the previous clip, but basically when a fish spawn is attempted, there's a 10% chance that the fish spawns a rarer color morphed variant. You can see here in the inventory the clownfish and the cob. And if we consider this exact combination of colors, the cob here on our left is vastly more rare than the clownfish. And I mentioned that there are 22 variants of common fish, meaning that the model and coloration is predetermined by the game. But at a 10% rate, the game will attempt to spawn a rarer color morphed variant. Shown behind me are the 12 possible models you can roll for the fish and their names. I like to refer to this as the species. And once the species is selected, the game will randomize the base color and the pattern color. There are 16 color types. So I'm led to assume that all these randomizations are weighted equally. So to find any given particular color morph, you'll have to roll the 1 in 10 chance to spawn a rarer color morph, the 1 in 12 species chance, 1 in 16 for a particular base color, and then another 1 in 16 for the pattern color. I think this means that if you're looking for a particular species with a particular base color and particular pattern color, the chance to find that fish would be 1 in 30,720 tropical fish spawns. Basically, that means if you find a rare fish, you should hang on to it because it could be days, weeks, or months before you see that exact same fish type again. I've included a Google Drive link to my spreadsheet that I use for tracking fish, which you're welcome to make a copy of and modify it as you see fit. Hopefully I got a few of you addicted to fish collecting. Real quick, let me show off one of my favorite types of fish, And this is when the game generates a rare fish, but the base color and the pattern color are the same. So this is a fully white Betty. Isn't that cool? And then here, I found a solid purple blockfish. Look at that dude. He's so pretty. Obviously, these fish don't really have value assigned to them unless you do that. If you're trying to complete a collection, the most valuable fish are just going to be the ones that you don't have. And, um, and for me, I really like the monomorphs that have like two of the same color. I think those are super cool, especially the solid white ones and the solid black ones, because if you're into fish keeping, those would be kind of like a platinum fish or a melanistic fish, so which I think is really neat. But this farm was super easy to put together. It probably took a couple hours because I put a little bit more time into it than I wanted to, but if you have a beacon, you can throw one of these together in like 30 minutes or an hour. So good luck if you want to start a fish collection, and let me know in the comments if you find any really neat specimens, and let me know if you have any questions about how to use the spreadsheet. So welcome back to the Science Plaza. This is the interior of our storage building called the Origin. And last episode I let you know that I was going to be doing some upgrades in here, and we definitely have. So I started with a sugarcane farm build up top so we could get a little passive supply of sugarcane for rockets. Then I made my way down to the bottom level and installed some slime block jump pads. These are a really fun way to navigate through the building and help make the area a little bit more fun. Then I spent a ton of time detailing the inside of the build to help with the world building aspect. At the very bottom level, managed to have enough space to fit in a nice bee farm. Epic episode 1 tie-in. And so I spent some time building an entirely new structure here at the Science Plaza, and I think I'll let the time lapse speak for itself. Alright, well I hope you liked the builds. I had one time lapse that I chatted over, and then one that I let the audio play, so let me know what you guys think about those, which one you prefer in the comments. Anyways, I want to show off here what I've done within the Origin. I've added some of these like improvised structural supports and kind of implied cracking in the ceiling. Maybe there's been a structural collapse or something there. That is actually a chute that goes up to the storage area, and I'll show that off in a bit. But I've also added some of this rooted dirt and granite down here that comes from like the central atrium area. So basically I'm trying to tell a story here. The collapse occurred here in the atrium area, and that is letting water run off from the roof down this path and eventually into the lower area down here that we just finished building. So I'm sure you saw that in the time lapse. Okay, so I'm really satisfied with how that turned out, and I want to just go down here and kind of show this section off. And I also did some off-camera building, so some of this stuff didn't show up in the time lapse. There's the sugarcane farm. Of course, it's been producing sugarcane while we're working. Not really a ton. It's like only 18 plants or something. It's really small. But it'll be plenty for my rocketry needs. Okay, so over here, this little contraption is kind of a little concrete breaker. So actually, it would help if I put the powder in the dropper, right? Alright, so you just hold down both mouse buttons, and then it will feed you a dust every time you break a concrete. So yeah, that thing's pretty useful. Good to have here, especially with all the concrete we've been using in the builds. Right, so I used a ton of yellow in this room, and I really like how it turned out. So over here we kind of have some darker terracotta too, to sort of imply a dirty look. And then we continue that trend of, like, if you remember the outside of the origin, that thingy, we continued that trend on the inside here with the frog light and the copper and the yellow. And I think that turned out really nice, and it helps kind of take your eye off this wall, which is a little on the boring side. Anyways, so I really like how that turned out. So this is one of the world building things that I was talking about earlier up here. We're trying to imply that there has been leaking from the upper floors down into the bottom. So you saw that little pond down there, and that's what that rooted dirt and granite path is up top. And it's kind of implying that the collapse has caused some amount of water to leak down from the roof here into this little pool. And then we've also got lush growth all around this, because obviously this area receives a ton of water. So this is a quick little sheep farm that I built. I'm not sure what color I even need. I just decided to leave them black sheeps. Now over here I decided to make a connection into the bulk storage area. So that's kind of like this whole blast door thingy you're seeing over here. And obviously this is our bulk storage area. So not exactly the nicest walkway, but you know me. I don't really mind exposed redstone. I think it looks kind of neat. So if we take this back in here, it's all connected up, which I think is really nice. So let me show off the bee farm down here too. Things not perfect, but it's been producing a ton of honey and honeycomb while I was building that big build over there. So basically the hives down here have a honey level, and the comparator output can read that. So once it reaches comparator level 5 or honey level 5, it's full. So it'll activate this dispenser, which either has bottles in it, and these down here have actually a bunch of shears in. So yeah, just things really been cranking out the honey and honeycomb. So really glad to have this. And there's just a hopper line under all the hives that leads over this barrel over here, and you can see the drops in there, which I've already crafted some of them and stuff. Anyways, hopefully you like that and the upgrades that we made to the origin. I know I do, because it's gonna make my life a lot easier. And let me take a quick moment to show off the slime jump pads, because they're actually pretty easy to use, but they can be a little tricky, so you kind of have to hit it at an angle. Okay. Let's go again. Once you get a rhythm going, you can kind of do it pretty seamlessly. Yeah, and that's pretty fun. I like that. I want to include things like that. Of course, I always have the option to just, fly up here, or interpearl, or whatever. Most of the time I'll be flying anywhere anyways, or everywhere anyways. So right here, if you belly up to that column and rocket up, boom, takes us right to the upper storage area. So that's kind of mirroring the style of this, which was our drop chute down to the bulk storage area, which I just showed off, right? This is familiar, right? And then over here is the origin interior, which I love how connected this is. Everything feels so circular. Really convenient. And this is a great way to fortify the connections in your world, because even if you're not necessarily connecting one location to another, you're still connecting some important areas of your builds, I guess. And speaking of connections, I wanted to show off some building that I did off camera real quick here, and it's actually this path. So this path leads to the wood farm, and I'm kind of gonna try and standardize these the look of these paths a bit, and I might even color code them. I'll have to think about whether or not that's going to make the area look too busy. But I really like the curvilinear here that takes us over to our wood farm. So the wood farm is from episode 3 over here. And of course, like I said, I pretty much just fly everywhere anyways, but take a look at that. That just makes the area feel way more complete. So I'm really happy to have these. Let me know if you think we should color code them to ones that go to other areas and stuff. I'm going to have little junctions like these all around and stuff. So I want to try and make a cohesive look for the area while also keeping it kind of chaotic. And note that the origin and the wood farm and the new build we did are supposed to be ruined laboratories, but I'm going to start to break the mold more I get out here because we're going to be doing just kind of fun things in and around this area. So that's another reason why the platforms are raised, because I'm going to have stuff going under here and stuff like that too. So I just wanted to show that off because I thought it was super cool. And I think it's time that I go ahead and show off the new build. So let's fly over there. And this I'm taken to calling a sky junction, which kind of serves a similar purpose. It's another connection type structure. So we can take the flying machine over here, and then this structure, the sky junction, will serve as kind of a hub to other buildings like the origin or whatever we decide to build. So if I build a trading hall, it might be up in the sky like these structures. And I can connect it right up to one of these sky junctions, which I think is just kind of cool. It adds some dynamics to your worlds for sure to have these flying machines, even though they're not super practical. Right, so I did add these target blocks. It's kind of not really helpful here because I can't hit it. So maybe I need to move those glass panes. Oh, the player's rocket can activate a target block? That's nuts. Okay, potential science idea right there. Play around with the target block a bit more. Anyways, check that out. That's pretty cool. I'll probably fire it again because I was enamored by a target block. Okay. I would be pretty embarrassed if I missed that, but honestly not surprised. Yeah, check that out. That is so cool. So I'm toying with the idea of just kind of making these launch randomly too. Even though, like I said, not practical at all. These things I'm really never going to use. They're just kind of cool. But there is some downsides to just making them launch randomly. Block updates I'm not that concerned about, but what I'm really concerned about is loading and unloading the area is going to break the machines, but whatever. Up top here, we have kind of like, you know, in a treehouse or whatever, how you have like the little bucket with the rope on it? This is kind of like the same thing, except horizontal. Maybe you would call this a gantry or something. So I built these little disheveled platforms here, and then the gantry cart that's kind of shipping some materials over to the other side. And functionally, you can walk across this. It's kind of cool, which is, again, more connections. That is what's going to make your builds feel more lived in. So we're also tying in the style of the disheveled kind of ramshackle structures over here onto this build as well. And it helps sell the fact that maybe raiders or vagrants or little goobers moved into these places hundreds of years after they collapsed or whatever. It's kind of apocalyptic Fallout vibe, if you will. But it's super cool, and I'm really happy with how everything turned out. So let's have a sleep here. But let me know what you think about in the builds in the comments. Always room for improvement. But I really hope you liked it. So let me make a quick cut because there's a little thing I want us to build together. So I tried my best to record and build at the same time, but it just was not going well. So I've got a voiceover for this thing, and pretty much what this is a little questing machine. So I'll show off the quest in a few minutes, but basically it's a little science looking machine, and when we click the button, it's going to give us a piece of paper that tells us a collection task or some sort of task to help streamline our world. So I find that if I have resources readily available, things go a little smoother, and it helps with my creativity. Sometimes I go to do a build and it's like, oh, I don't have terracotta, so I'll end up using like a concrete or something that just doesn't look as good. So we're trying to prevent that here, and I think this is a fun way to do this, and a way to kind of give myself some accountability in an interesting way. Plus, you guys can suggest quests too, so let me know in the comments if you have any quest suggestions, and I'm going to show off the ones I came up with here. So I came up with collect 1 shulker box of spruce log, collect 1 shulker box of sand, gravel, and terracotta. Here we've got collect 5 unique mob heads, and this is because I have the Vanilla Tweaks More Mob Heads data pack. Then we got restock the consumables and utility boxes in the ender chest. And the final one I got here was trade with villagers for emeralds. So, let's go ahead and click the button and see what our first quest is. Yikes, trade with the villagers for emeralds. Honestly, that's probably my least favorite one, but I'm gonna need to collect some wood before I can even do that. So, let's go ahead and jump into that real quick. Enjoy today's map art that was suggested by a viewer, and don't forget to leave a suggestion down below. I do think that's all I've got time for today. Hopefully I got a few of you interested in tropical fish collection. That spreadsheet in the description is super helpful, so please let me know if there's any issues with that. And if you made it this far, it means a lot to me. Please check out the survival series playlist that's going to show up on your left, because I know you're probably going to like it. I'd really like if you subbed or left a comment. It's free, and it increases my serotonin levels. Stay tuned for next episode, because we'll be making big breaks in infrastructure, and I've got a pretty cool science segment lined up. I'll see you there.